Droppy. Bulgaria's favorite laxative. Proud to sponsor the velocity of now. Droppy will clean blockages from your anus, so you will be not unclean. Make it sloppy with Droppy.
Final hour of this 2019 summer special of The Velocity of Now with me, your host, Thomas Sheridan. If you want to help me out in any way, you can buy a book. The link is below, and the website I'm using now is www.mossuponstones.com. Don't forget to check out and subscribe and watch the videos on this Thomas Sheridan YouTube channel, also the Open Source Occult TV YouTube channel, and also my new posh channel, Beyond Room 313. You can find the links for all them in the description box below. Before we continue with the rest of the show, let's have an update from their pedocopter operator, Nigel Truther.
Well, we have very heavy paedophile activity on the A14 between Huntingdon and Cambridge. There's a satanic paedophile on the A402 near Banbury. In Aylesbury, on near the A41, is a satanic paedophile. Satanic pedophiles backed up on the A12 between Chelmsford and Chester. Very heavy satanic paedophile on the A141 just outside Ely. The M40 between Banbury and London backed up with many satanic pedophiles. Stay tuned to the Velocity now for more satanic pedophile updates from the pedocopter. This is Nigel Truther, over and out.
Okay, well that was Nigel giving us an update on the satanic paedophile situation. Now, I was just thinking about 5G the other day. Not happy about it, and a lot of people don't seem to be either. And it's not just people who would be sort of like rebellious or conspiratorial minded. There's even normal communities around the country who are here in Ireland, and I don't know about other countries, who are actually putting up local protests against the erection of 5G masts. The thing with the 5G is that it's so insidious, it's so all-pervasive, but also it's amazing how they can put these things up without doing proper environmental assessments. If you wanted to build anything, or like in terms of infrastructure, like a road or a tram line or a railway or something, an airport runway, you have to go through strict environmental procedures to see that this piece of infrastructure matches up to current standards regarding dangers to everything from the water table to, wildlife, changes in the landscape. But because 5G is telecommunications and it's invisible except for where the transmitters are put, the masts are put, and they're quite insidious, they can be put anywhere and are fairly small, the planning applications for this are completely ignored. So it's almost like what you can't see doesn't kill them. And yet there's things being done like railway line embankments, trees are being cut down to create 5G corridors. And yet those railway embankments and road embankments, those trees were planted on them for the same reason that grass exists on sand dunes. The roots of those trees stop subsidence of soil. And you're going to have issues now where you're going to have trains during a heavy rain, train lines and roads being closed because they're going to have mud washed all over them and hopefully no accidents, from the structural integration and integrity of the embankment being completely damaged. But it doesn't matter because, all the big telecommunications companies, they own the politicians. And, it's more important that some hipster can download his video on how to make vegan cheeseburgers from banana skins in HD or some that kind of thing than the betterment of society as a whole. And the thing is that you can sit there fighting it and everything, and I totally applaud anyone who's standing up to it, but it's not going to change anything because the amount of money invested in these companies is phenomenal. So there's huge amounts of profits and money on the line by companies that already have the big bucks to buy the politicians off, buy the insurance companies off, and buy everyone else off. And yet, governments will fall hand over fist to do this, but they won't do anything about hospital waiting queues and this kind of thing. And I'm not talking about like people waiting on trolleys in hospitals. I don't find anything problem. Hospitals are not hotels. I don't have a big problem with that once they're taken care of. They're still being taken care of because they're in the hospital. I'm about people waiting for things like dialysis machines and operations and being put back on those lists, or any kind of thing like that. There's never any money for that, but there's always money for something like this. Why? Because the politicians are all corrupt and all are paid off, and that's why you don't vote. I couldn't be arsed voting anymore. I couldn't. The very idea of walking into a place where a polling booth, other than to steal the black crayon that they have in there, I couldn't think of a decent reason to go into them. It's just a game. It's just a game. Our politicians are not even the issue. We're not being run by. You see, all the issues that you're facing right now, is not essentially the fault of a politician that they give you to vote on. And you hate, and is being made fun of in cartoons on social media. The real monsters are the senior civil servants behind you don't see. Like, you know that show from the 80s in England, Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister? Sir Humphrey. That's exactly what you're dealing with in every country. Senior public servants or civil servants behind you doing all this stuff. And they're the ones who make the decisions. They're the ones who are very easy to bribe. When was the last time you ever heard of a senior civil servant being done for corruption? You hear about politicians being done for corruption, but you rarely hear about a civil servant being done for corruption. Why? Because no one knows who the senior servants are, and nobody knows who their names. They didn't vote for them. They didn't canvass. They didn't put themselves on TV. They don't show up on talk shows. So they're all hidden. This is why democracy is a horrible system. It's absolutely horrible. I'm sorry, I'm drinking. And then someone said to me, I'm drinking coffee. And then someone said to me, well, what's a better system? What's a better system? And I say, I honestly don't know. And isn't that like the in the rub right there? It's like, how do you submit to being ruled? Well, it's got to the point for me. Well, it's been like this all my life, but more now. But I'm just thankful I'm not living in a place where I'm starving, or I'm being arrested for my religion, or I'm under some kind of autocratic dinosaur theological legal system, and I'll just make do as I am and hope that myself and the loved ones that I have in my life are all taken care of, because there's nothing you can do about it. But however, the ultimate, if you were to say, like, if you look at all my work over the years, what has been the fundamental key to protecting your consciousness, whether it's in magic, whether it's in dealing with the psychopaths, whether it's dealing with the power structures of the top of the system, what's the best way of dealing with it? It always comes down to having a sense of humor and laughing at it. Just like the Buddhist monks who go out and they laugh at demons and ghosts. It's called laughing at the hungry ghost. They laugh at them. And that will always be, the bard is the one who always survives. And many years I've been saying that in the court, or the jester, and the joker's always the last card put back in the deck. And you have tremendous spiritual, very real spiritual power to defend yourself by laughing at these things. This is why satire is so powerful. I was watching a clip the other day of the 20 most funniest priests on Father Ted. And that Father Ted show demolished the Catholic Church in Ireland, because they were just, all the show every week just made fun of the Catholic bishops and the Catholic priests in a brutal way, by portraying them all as misfits and weirdos. And it just destroyed their power. You know what? They had been losing it for years, but they still had a bit left, and it gone completely gone. And that was because the jester craft, the power of the jester, the power of the bard, satire, it has a tremendous power to undo autocratic and vicious systems. And that's why they've killed comedy. Comedy today is horrific. Absolute rubbish. It's all virtue signaling, political correctness. It's all these. That's all it is, and that's why it was engineered that way. And I had to laugh at Stephen Fry recently to talk about why are people offended? He was one of the why people shouldn't be offended. He was one of the biggest culprits in all of this. He was him and Ben Elton and the rest of them from that generation of the BBC who basically decided that anything that was funny before them was offensive, racist, evil, sexist, and anything that after them was true comedy. And that's why nothing is funny today, because that they started up. They were a watershed between comedy that was funny, and comedy that's now unfunny. And then to see that shitbag, Stephen Fry going, "Whoa, why is everyone offended? Why is everyone offended? Don't be offended." And yet they, Ben Elton, the guy who's comes from a millionaire family, he lived in like a house in Mayfair in London while he was in college, and he decided who's and then he pretended he having this mocking accent. I'm getting on my phone going, yeah. And the guy's as posh as the Queen. What's his name? Jamie Oliver. Let's just have someone there about Jamie. Jamie Oliver. His restaurant chain has folded and he's lost £25 million. How in the name of Jesus do you lose £25 million with a restaurant chain? That is a staggering. I mean, that's the kind of money you lose if you have an aerospace company that makes planes or something, or you make trains or something. Huge engineering companies, but a restaurant chain losing 25 million. And he is the. A friend of mine said he was the embodiment of the Tony Blair years, and absolutely he was. There was a weird period in the late 90s where things got very contrived and very superficial. And his Jamie Oliver was the poster boy of that. Do you remember he'd have his little, he'd go, "Oh, puka!" And I'm gonna make a fucking sandwich. Oh, you wouldn't say that, but I'm gonna make a sandwich. Splash a bit of this on, and all this kind of stuff, right? And then at the end, all his mates would come over for a party, and he'd be like, "Oh, I wish I was like Jamie and his mates. Oh, they make nice food, and they have a party at the end, and they play songs like Dancing in the Moonlight, Everybody's Feeling Warm. Oh, look, Jamie's eating a sandwich, all and bright. Oh, look, he's got multiracial friends. He's got a black friend, he's got a brown friend, he's got everything. Oh wait, hold on a second. I recognise that black fella. He was on EastEnders last week. He's a fucking actor. Oh, Jamie's not so cool after all." And this is but very few of them figured that one out. Yeah, but that's what it was like. Totally contrived. I bet Jamie Oliver doesn't have a single friend in the world. I bet he doesn't have a single friend on this earth. All his friends are all people who are paid to be extras around him. And with all his money, although I don't know how much he has now, still he's got plenty stashed away in the bank. I wouldn't want to be someone like him. And when you go to a non-English speaking large city, you forget how different the world, even in Europe, is. Now, Turin is a good-sized city. Torino, was where Fiat is there, and it's a big centre of science and engineering. But the city centre is remarkable. It's a beautiful, ornate city centre, and it shuts down at 6 o'clock. Now, the reason why mostly it seems to, and why that seems to happen is that the people who live there, they go home and they have with their families, and they spend time with their families. But the city's also notorious because it has something like 100,000 Satanists, and the Catholic Church has no power there. In fact, they've even tried to exorcise the entire city. And yet it's one of the safest places you could ever be. You don't get these gangs around the train station smoking skunk and looking at women. Women can walk down the streets there perfectly safe. But it's very difficult to find something to eat in the evening in a small place other than an posh restaurant, because everything closes down. People are still civilized. There's no Jamie Oliver there telling them what to do. They know how to cook. And even finding something to eat at night, it wasn't say difficult, but I'd see a place I pass in the afternoon, and sometimes I'll come here at 7 o'clock for my dinner, and it wouldn't be open after 6, or it'd be closing at 7. So I'd be dependent on these things. If someone wasn't feeding me there, I'd be depending on these cafe bars they have all over the place. They're quite good, but it's very different. They're still they're not as controlled by mass media as we in the English-speaking world are. The anvil of the psyche is not hitting to the same degree. Yet their television and everything is shit. It's even worse. It's just as tacky and noisy and obnoxious. But it doesn't seem to have the same social control that this part. You would never, you wouldn't get those kind of, oh, I'm gonna be like Jamie Oliver. I'm gonna be like Jamie Oliver. Oh, I wish I was like him and his wife. Oh, like that kind of thing. It's not. You don't have. They seem to be more immune to it. I don't know. I often wonder about the English language. Is the English language created to make us more compliant? To make us, that's what to make us easy to control, because it's not a language of power to the people. It's a language of domination of the people. English didn't come from the masses. It was basically invented. If you look at the English of Chaucer, it was nothing like the English of Victorian England. Elizabethan England. After that, it started to change, and it became, structured according to things like accents, things like that. So you can tell like someone's social class from their accent rather than where they came from. And yet accents have endured incredibly. Accents in this part of the world, where you got Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales, and regional ones, are all as strong as they've ever been. The accents have not been lost, except in kind of posh areas where you have a kind of a mingling of a sort of like a Middle English accent. Even the ones in South Dublin have the dort, they talk like this, dort, and that kind of thing. But everywhere else, the accents have remained integral. And I do wonder, like, this has been why they've attacked indigenous cultures. It's not because of their indigenous religion or their indigenous ways. It's always according to their language. Language is, to use Deepak Chopra, language is the maker of reality. And it is the maker of reality. And language is the lexicon. And like humor, to survive this, things like slang, very important to keep your slang going, your regional slang. Of course, you don't have to be like that if you're going to work in an office, in a posh office, in the workplace. But I mean, I used to sound pretty close to Anto and Deco. Maybe not that bad, but I was like this, like that kind of thing. But when I went down to the business world and the wider world, I had to change my accent. I had to learn how to pronounce my THs, for example, and I still have trouble with that. But that's okay. I think that's a weapon. That's another thing too. Slang. Black people in America have been fantastic at that, the way they've used slang. Jive talk, as they used to call it back in the day. That's a subversive weapon that you can use to code. It's a code that you can operate under the system and keep yourself sane, along with humor. If you got those two things, if you got a code in terms of your language or how you think and how you talk among your peers, and you couple that with a satirical or an outrageous sense of humor, you've got a lot of things there to make you survive. An awful lot of things. You're doing all right. And then if you have enough food on the table and enough to go on a holiday once a year, take care of the kids, look after you, put a roof over your head, well, why do you need to then be worried about politics? Why do you need to be worried if you live in England if Theresa May or Corbyn is in power? Why do I have to be bothered that, an absolute, like, borderline artistic like Vidacker is in power in Ireland, or whether you have your one Cortez speaking for you in America? I fancy her though, she's a bit of alright. Or Trump, what does it matter? At the end of the day, if you're surviving and doing all right, those things are irrelevant. Because I gotta tell you something, you're never going to get any new problems you have in your life are never going to be addressed by the political system. And that's just a difficult thing. They say, I'm living in an area that's been taken over by Muslims. Who's going to help me? I got news for you. If you don't want to live around Muslims that are taking over your neighborhood, move. I know, and if you don't have the money to move, I'm sorry, I can't, no politician is going to help you. You think they're going to come down and build a fence around your house? Or they're going to move all them out? They're constituents just as much as you are. Their vote counts just as much as you are. But I'm a native of this land. Nah, not to a politician. You're an animal. You're an animal who ticks the ballot box, and that's all you are, and they don't care. Let me tell you something. I remember, and I don't care really that much about immigration. I can't stand these like Tommy Robinson types. I find them extremely toxic and horrible, and I don't like Gemma O'Doherty's tactics either. I mean, we got to get, calling all you patriots, and then she's pushing this horrible foreign religion of Christianity on us. So somehow we're allowed to be, we're expected to be patriotic, but we're supposed to worship a Jewish religion. That's her logic, and the rest of them, Gran Torino and all those others. And I don't blame them. They want to get up there and do things and say what they want and do what they want. That's their own business. But that to me it's not going to change. If you think putting some gas in Gran Torino's tank is going to save Ireland, it's not. Nothing is going to save anything. Now, what may have brought you to those points where you're listening to people like that may be noble things. At the end of the day, only you can save yourself. Only you can save your own ass. I'm sick and tired of telling you this over the years, but I still see people. I think a lot of people who have followed me a long time now accept that. And when they do take an interest in politics, it's usually good for a laugh, or they have genuine concerns about things. But they know ultimately that there's nothing. The only solution that you have is there's a lot to be said for running away. I'm a firm believer in. You should stand and fight. You stand and fight when there's no other hope. But otherwise, run away. And that's not cowardice. That's survival. And that's not running away from a fight. That's running away from something that is designed to destroy me if I stand in front of it trying to stop it. I saw a video that like idiots were sharing last week. It was some guy cutting down what was alleged to be a 5G mast with an angle grinder, and all these people going, and he cut it down in the middle of a busy traffic streets, and videotaped it, filmed it, and then the thing fell on the road, just missing a car. Now, if there was a kid or anyone in that car, that would have killed them if it landed on them. And yet all the people are going, isn't that amazing? He cut down a 5G post. He's a hero. And I'm like, he could have killed people in those cars. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's like the flat earther mindset again. Show me the curve. Show me curved water. A raindrop is curved water. You bastard! It's like that thing, that kind of thing. That's the thing, like things like that as well. I often think things like that are like social control things, to see just how compliant they can make people. Just how, it's like, we gotta stand up against the Illuminati. We gotta stand up, man. We gotta beat that Illuminati. But I'm afraid of triangles and eyes in them and twee pointless vacuous pop stars who hold their hands over their one eye. They're devil folk. Oh, they're devil folk Satanists working for the Illuminati. Fear, fear, fear. Be afraid, be afraid. And that's the other side of it. Live in fear. People say, do you live in... You have a choice. There are two tigers. There are two creatures inside you. One is a lion and the other one is a weasel. Which do you choose to be? I'm a human being. I have neither one of them inside me. But, yeah. Sick of it all. It's like people saying, this is why I don't get... this is how I don't get David Icke, right? I think David Icke is a decent man. I'm not putting him down as a person. It's quite obvious that he's a good man. There's a good man there whose heart is in the right place and he's doing the right things. He talks about ascendancy and the fight, we're all, it's all an illusion and it's a quantum mainframe and all this stuff. And I totally agree with that. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that we should seek to be more loving and spiritual. I don't know about that. That's a bit too Christian for me. But, and then he says, but then he go on and make long-winded BBC question time type talks about the political structure. Now, there seems to be a bit of a double message there. Why do you care? Why do you care about the political system, the day-to-day political system, if it's all an illusion? You know what I'm saying? Like what? Surely the answer would then be to try and change, rather than getting yourself, okay, this three-dimensional matrix construct is an illusion. This is the underlying theory. And politicians are assholes. You got me on both those cases. I'm totally down with that. Now let's talk about Boris Johnson for the next hour. But isn't that locking you into the 3D system? Isn't that strengthening it? Wouldn't it be much better to ridicule it and ignore it? I think it would be. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I don't get it. Which are you? I know life is a bit of spirit. It's about spirituality, and it's about, everyday living. That's what magic is, and that's what we're here in this reality. But if you can change the quantum structure of reality, why reinforce the negative parts about it by constantly talking about it? That's what I don't understand. That's what I don't get. Now, you could talk about it in a sense of ridiculing it, and you could talk about it in a sense of the absurdity of it, but that's not what goes on. It's talked about in a sense of we need to do something about it. One day everyone will wake up. That's another Christian thing as well. No, look, it's absolutely incredible what David Icke has done. Absolutely incredible. I mean, I'd be the first to give him credit for that. He had a nervous breakdown on TV, went out and rebuilt himself as a kind of a new age conspiracy theorist, and he has now an audience of millions and millions all over the world. He has totally proven himself to have an amazing amount of balls and courage, and no one should ever take that away from the man. But he's still pushing the same message, of the political system has to be changed. Ultimately, that's what he's saying. So I would prefer, look, in my case, my attitude is apathy is more look, if you're in a relationship with someone and say you got a divorce from someone, right? If you're hating on them, are you free of them? If you're talking about them, are you free of them? If you've walked away from them and forgotten about them, you're free of them. I know you can't break energetic bonds just like that, and I know people who have children with someone, it's very difficult to do it. But if you when a couple breaks up and a relationship fails, it's still ongoing if both sides are continually talking about it. There's no evolution for anyone there. And that's the same system I'm seeing here. Yeah, David Icke has taken people out of the system to a degree where they're thinking about it differently, but still in a holding pattern above the system. Fly away. Fly away. That would be my message. Yeah, bang on, but fly away. And apathy towards the system will kill the system, or at least take away its power. I was where was I? I was in Sri Lanka, and I was at this place, and there was a very nice English couple there, and I'm not kidding you, they were in this very nice resort, and the whole time that I saw, it was in a nice, very nice, it was a pub, and I went to this pub a few times, and it was a nice posh pub restaurant for Westerners, and they were watching the BBC News and holding the remote and watching while they were in a foreign country as far away as Sri Lanka. They were watching the BBC News and complaining about Boris Johnson and complaining about Brexit. And I just had to sigh, and then the man would say, "Oh, I don't know why I watch this rubbish," and I felt like saying to him, "I don't know why you watch it either, but you are." And that's another thing. He was absolutely right, David Icke, that the greatest brainwashing tool that's ever been devised has been the box in the corner of the room. So I guess that's why he runs the mainstream gambit, is that he has to, if he gets on the mainstream, he'll reach people, and he definitely does. I mean, I saw he's gotten better at it. I saw him on an Australian thing recently where he totally crucified these spooks, these TV talking heads, very easily. This woman was desperately trying to portray him as a Nazi and talking about the Holocaust, and constantly bringing it up. And he totally blew the knickers off her. Now, a few years ago, I've seen him do similar things, and he would lose his temper and handle it. He's definitely gotten better at it. That's because he doesn't play with them. And also, you cannot be an extremist of any form. I found that's another thing. You have to sort of like be like a salesman, and you have to, because it's all horses for courses for horses. Each environment. This is one of the reasons I don't do interviews anymore. Well, I will do them if it's someone has I'm going to be doing a special with Greg Moffat on legalized freedom, on hauntology and folk horror and these kinds of 1960s TV shows that we grew up with, and that is only because that's a love of mine. That's a passion. But otherwise, I'm not interested in doing I've told a few people that I'm not doing interviews anymore, and I just said absolutely don't bring me anywhere near politics. I don't even want to do speaking events really much anymore unless there's nothing that I just can't go. I just can't be in that world anymore. It's toxic. It's poisonous, and it's designed never to fail because you have these people where attention goes, energy flows, and yet you still keep on watching the BBC News. And then the other side of that is the panacea. How are things going to improve? I don't know. What must we do? I haven't a clue. Thomas, can you give us some advice on how we can save the world? I'll be down the pub. I couldn't give a shit. Fine, save yourself. I just, you're not part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem. Oh, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? If you're not part of the solution, you're automatically part of the problem. That's a classic example of the Abrahamic mindset that's been stuck into your skull. One God, our God, or no God. Our God or no God. That's what that comes from. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I had some muppet. There was an explosion of nonce-manics lately. A nonce-manic is these types you get in the truth movement, like Nigel Truther. Satanic beautiful. Who see satanic beautifuls everywhere. And there was a sudden explosion of them on my comments on YouTube. And I was accusing me of being in with the satanic paedophile elite or being one of them or something. I said, where the fuck did this come from? And where it came from was the horrible video of those two kids in Hampstead, which is an absolute 100% hoax. What went on there was a bunny boiler mother, her pathetic congenital loser cuckold boyfriend, using the poor kids to get back at her ex-husband. That's all that was. A classic borderline female. That's all that was. But no, it has to be true because it had all the juicy elements. And they feed it to you. Why? Because they know you, as long as you're walking around Hampstead, following innocent parishioners outside a church with your camera phone going, thank you, fool. That's where it is, and you got that idea from. You won't be going up to Parliament or to the top of the BBC and looking for the big ones. They always want you hunting the small ones, never the big ones. And you get so I was wondering that's why that was a sudden explosion of these nonce-manics. These people are obsessed with paedophilia. They see it everywhere. It got to the point where I've seen them on Facebook actually calling. It's one thing to say that gay people are a gateway to paedophilia, which is absolutely shown to be absolute bullshit. But they say that. But the second one is you often see them getting so nonce-manicked up, so obsessed with satanic pedophiles that even straight sex to them is paedophilia. Eventually that happens. There's something seriously not right with these people. They all think of themselves, anyone who sees themselves as a white knight, whether they're a saviour of children or a saviour of the community, I can guarantee you, every community you've grown up in, there's always been some asshole, who, especially in working class communities, who sets himself up as the community activist. And I can guarantee you, in 99 times out of 100, he's the biggest wanker in the town. The biggest wanker in the town. You see, if you're a congenital loser with nothing else going for you in life, you set yourself up as a community activist, or you set yourself up as a defender of children. That's a big one, defender of children. And you find that these ones, if they have kids of their own, they've never given them any real love or anything. But they're going to fight for kids. They're going to fight for children. We're going, kids come first. These types. And they treat their own kids like shit. I've seen that myself many times. It's the same thing. The white knight who the woman defender. He's the white knight. Those ones are often wife beater types. There's a kind of a wife beater element in that, because if you're a white knight saving women, that's not a million miles away from wanting to control them. There's something about that. There's something about this white knight psychosis that, like, I'm going to defend this. I just don't like. That's very, very different than you say, like, you're seeing real horrors in your community, and then trying, like, to do it properly without getting yourself something personal in it for yourself. Like the people who really blew up in those horrible paedophile rings in England, they were not celebrities or names or wanted names. They just wanted justice, and they were the ones who really did it. So I've never trusted anyone who sets themselves up as a hero or a white knight or a defender or a community activist. 99 times out of 10 they're fucking losers. They're the biggest fucking loser going, and this is just part of their persona of trying to appear noble and valiant. It's just a big cover story for someone who's a fucking loser in just about every case. But it continues on. It never ever changes. The things that I'm talking about here would have been talked about in the 1950s, in the 1930s, in the 1890s, and it never changes. Just the assholes and the nice people. They live, they're born, and they die. And life is so short. Let me tell you, life is short. I packed an enormous amount into my life. I really have. From a very early age, I've done it. I'm very, I wouldn't say proud, but I'm very satisfied with many of the things I've done. I've done a lot, and I feel like I'm a long way from finished as well. I feel a lot more things I want to do, but I've been lucky that I've had opportunities and I've grasped them when they came along. I never had to set myself up as a hero because I was too busy doing things. And that's the thing, creativity, create the life. That's part one, is no compliance with the system. Just detach from it. Yeah, it's a 5 sense reality, illusion, quantum, whatever you want to call it, matrix. You detach from that first, okay? Then the second thing is to also laugh at it. Laughing at it helps you to deal with it. It also takes away its power. Telling jokes about it. And then finally is to create a new reality. And how you do that is through creativity. And I'm not just talking about the art, being an artist or a singer or a songwriter or something. Creating a new reality could just be changing how you think about things. I was talking to a friend the other day in England about the idea of gratitude. A lot of people don't. I mean, people are ungrateful these days, especially young people. And I don't want to sound like when I was a kid, when I was a kid, I had, the arse out of me trousers, and I had to, swim through a sea of shit every morning to get a fucking sandwich. That like that. It's not like that at all. I can remember when I saved up the money when I was just barely out of my teens. I was still in my teens, about 19. Buy the ticket to go to New York from Ballymun. I was in Tal at the time then. I was so grateful that I saved up and got the ticket. It was like a Willy Wonka golden ticket moment. I can remember when I landed in New York and got out off the train to the plane at 33rd Street and looked up and saw the Empire State Building. I felt so grateful. When last January, when a friend took me to Sri Lanka, and I woke up that morning and looked out my balcony window and saw the jungle and a monkey in front of me, I had the same. I felt so grateful. I meet people today, kids, teenagers, and they get taken all over the world. So what was Japan like? Sorry. What was Africa like? South Africa like? Sorry. Now that's my friend and I were saying the other day, that if you have a gratitude for things, you keep a childlike wonder inside you. You keep this sensation of being grateful for these things, that they never lose their intrinsic value. And feeling like that, and even if I go to another town in Ireland I've never been to before, I get excited seeing a new building or a new streets or a new town. That's how I am. It's nothing is boring to me. I don't think I've ever been bored in my life, ever, except at jobs. That's the only time. But like inside my own head is a wonderland, and it's kept me very occupied and very happy for years. And that's a lot of that is gratitude. When I talk about sensual, I don't mean sensual in a sexual way, although that is great too. I'm talking about sensual in the sense of the sensory indulgences of life. Whether you see a beautiful flower or a beautiful sunset, where you walking down the street and you smell beautiful food cooking out of a restaurant, when you jump into the ocean for a swim, and that lovely moment when the first piece of salty water goes into your lips and you taste the salt of the ocean. That's what I'm talking about. If you can create a sensation of gratitude with everything that you feel blessed with having, from the smile of your own child to being able to get out of bed by yourself in the morning because you're not old and infirm or disabled, you will create the reality you desire. That's the key. Gratitude is very important. Now, I'm going to have to sign out now. 2 reasons. The show's coming to an end. I hope you enjoyed this. There's also, I've got the live broadcast coming in from Anto and Deco and Tony on Area 51. So again, thanks for listening to the VoN special. I'll probably come back with another one on Halloween. And then until then, the other 2 channels beyond Room 313 and Open Source Occult TV for the kind of my vlogs about magic and spirituality was still going. And share this video around. If you want to help me, buy a book, links below, to have nice thoughts about me. Anything that's you like that I've said to you, keep it in your heart. If it's things you don't like, just ignore it and create your own model of reality. And feck them if they can't get a joke, and look after yourselves. Ave Lucifer, long live the horn gods. And are you there, Anto and Deco? Okay, lads, we're here. Do you hear me, Deco? Yeah, wonder. Do you hear me, Tony? Aye, man. Now listen, we're going to break into Area 51, right? And we're going to rescue those aliens. We've been very lucky to get this far, lads. And we should be proud of ourselves for making it this far. And also special thanks to Nigel for flying us in the helicopter from the airport to Area 51. What we do, lads, right, is you go 100 yards to the west, Deco. Roger! And you go to 100 yards to the right, Tony, champion. And then I'll give the order on the walkie-talkies here, right? And then we'll crawl under the fence and get into that building over there. Because that building over there, I'm sure there's an alien in it. Sounds champion like in X-Files. This is a threshold moment, Tony. We're letting you, I'm trusting you enough to let you on the team to get in here. Divin talk shite, I'll be in there quicker than I get into Gillian Anderson's knickers. Alright, Deco. Yeah, right, now, so we go under the fence, and we go to under all the bush, and there's only one question I'm asking, right? I thought Area 51 was in the desert. Yeah, it's in Nevada. But I don't really, I can see, you can hear the sea and everything. No, this is, look, Nigel said he would take us to Area 51 in the chopper, and we're here. I have to agree. with Deco. It doesn't look like the desert lake, man. It's the fucking desert. We're in the area 51 in Nevada. Now go over there, 100 yards to the left, you, 100 yards to the right, and crawl under the fucking fence, right? That way, we will, when they start shooting the AR-15 machine guns on us, we won't be in a group. It'd be harder to shoot if they were spread out. But how will we know if the shooting starts? Fucking hell, man, it'll be going like a fucking gun, like. That's not what the fucking AR-15 is. It's that. Fuck, I gotta stop sniffing his fucking Navida Ajax. No, look, man, the AR-15 goes. Didn't hear fucking shite when fucking killing you. Oh, I don't know if I want to go in now. You are a fucking coward. You are not a fucking patriot. What the fuck has aliens got to do with being patriotic? If we get the alien and bring it back to Ballymun, we'll be fucking heroes. Aye, what about me, man? I'm a fucking Geordie. What about my fucking, like, my fucking dignity with this fucking thing? He's starting to sound Welsh. Have you noticed that? It's just dissociative personality disorder. Anyway, under the fucking fence now, lads, and go there. I want to believe. Oh, Jesus, fuck. Where are you, Tony? Over here, man. Follow me to this. I found this building. Come over. Reggie Lake. Where are you, Deco? I'm with hand down here with my side. Oh, don't fucking give me a fucking fright. Give me a fucking fright then. Okay, here's Tony now. Lads, this is a threshold moment for us as people. Not only as scangers from Ballymun and what the fuck ever the fuck you are from Newcastle. This is a fucking threshold moment. Behind that door, the alien. We're not doing this just for us. We're doing this for humanity. We're doing this for disclosure. We're doing this for everyone. The door's open, lads. Hold on, Tony, like. Hold on. Hold on, Deco. What does the fucking sign say, man? It says Isla Epstein. Oh, for fuck's sake. Hi, fellas. I'm former US President Bill Clinton. Read my lips. I did have sex with that alien. Oh, Jesus, man, I'm fucking shite.